The general manager made it very clear you have tonight off.
I'll leave when I want to. Unless you have a problem with that. I think I'm gonna leave by myself, huh? Hey! Tell Angle I'm leaving! But I'm bringing him with me! Roman Reigns is garbage. And now you are too.
You know who likes special entertainment like that? My mom!
The following announcement's been paid for by the Savvo and Stubby Show.
Quiet on the set. Can we please have quiet on the set?
What is up, wrestling fans? It's me. It's S-T-U-B-B. Why? Because I'm the man, the myth, the legend, the mighty minion himself, Stubby. And I am joined on the radio by my colleague, my co-host, the original Big Joe. How you doing, Joe?
Another week in the books. Man, I feel like WrestleMania was like years ago already.
Yet, they still decided to play that red light, green light song 2 weeks later. I don't get it.
Hey, we were 2 weeks into the WrestleMania push, and I already hated that song, so...
We are here with episode 11. Big Joe is taking the spot for Mr. Savvo The Savior. And I'm glad he can do that today for us. I believe Joe's a strong enough anchor, so let's get the show on the way, right?
Let's go for it!
So what stood out for you this week on the brand?
That when it's not WrestleMania time, this Raw could be absolutely terrible. So I think you brought it up to me in maybe a text message or something. I'm just like sitting there going, yeah, he's right. They're trying to rehash too many storylines that they've done before just to keep people interested, and it's just not working. The thing that I've noticed quickly right off the bat, I mean, and I know this is the one that led off Raw this week, but it was within the first hour, was, didn't we just get past an Ambrose and Miz feud?
Yeah, not only that, but to bring Ambrose and Miz both over to the same show.
Just to have them feud with each other.
Right, and not only that, but do you notice that it seems like the Miz took a step back from the star role that he had on SmackDown to playing a mid-card on Raw?
Well, yeah. Because, you know, and before we get any further, let me say, rest in peace to the big Uso Rosie, a.k.a. Matt Anoa'i, before I go and start bashing his brother, Roman Reigns.
Oh, yeah. We got to give all respect due, right?
Yeah. It's that Roman Reigns thing. I mean, it's just, they want that Roman Reigns in the main event, and no matter how boring it is, that's what's going to be the main event. You know, I'm going to Payback in a couple of weeks. I will be there live. Hopefully, we will get some good reports coming from that. And we already plan on leaving early. Like, we're going to beat the traffic out because I'm not staying to watch Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman.
Hey, I got to ask, if you happen to get any footage with any of the WWE superstars, can we get that exclusive content for the show?
Of course. We're gonna see what I record out there. Maybe I'll do a video report or something going on from out there. Depends on how I look that day. You know.
It's funny too because the Savvo and Stubby Show does have a YouTube page, but I never utilized it. I've got one video on there, and that's my original promo that I cut for the first episode.
You know, I've had some luck of running into people like somebody who's been in the news a lot lately, Justin Roberts. I ran into him one time. I got into a big fight with him. I called him a little bitch. He kept walking because he dogged me And I always thought Justin Roberts sucked anyways. Like, I hated him as a ring announcer. So
I'm gonna drop a name, and I want to make sure we don't bash him at any point because I want to see if I can get Sean. What's his name? Davari. Sean Davari.
Oh, I got nothing but respect for Davari, man. I've seen him wrestle outside of WWE.
Because I was listening to JR's podcast today, and he had Davari and Mr. Anderson on the show, and you can tell the show was recorded before WrestleMania, but it just aired today. And just like the Seth Lesser, aka Simon Gotch, Davari said if anyone ever wants to book him or whatnot, he'd be happy to do it. I don't know if there's money involved in that aspect, but if I can send him an email and see if I can get an interview with him on the show. He is no longer under contract with any of the organizations that he was working with, so he said that he's free and open. But it would be neat to get some of that content onto the show. And anyone looking at the Savvo and Stubby group page noticed that I sent an email out to Seth Lesser to see if he can come on the show. I'm pretty sure it was a blow-off, but it's still nice that he responded, saying that he's under contract still with WWE, because I know they have that no contest in their contracts. But he was just on Vince Russo, of all people's podcast, so I feel it's kind of a brush up.
A nobody today could be a somebody tomorrow.
Oh, I don't.
Work your bridges.
Oh, I don't doubt it. And not only that, but I mean, even though they weren't, top card competitors, they were still in the business, and I have nothing but respect for people like that. Just like the Wetback from the Wetback and Crack a Power Hour. Even though he's wrestling independent circuit, I mean, I still have respect for the fact that he's doing it.
Giggity.
I mean, I would have loved to have done it.
Giggity.
I was telling the Cracker that I had an opportunity to go wrestle for APW there in Hayward, fresh out of high school, and I didn't have the $1,000 at the time. I didn't think it was something I'd really go along with. And you know me, I was 4'7" in high school, 5'7" now. Those are not exactly the traits that get you over in the business. So
Is that with your boots on?
Yeah, probably. But to know that I overlooked an opportunity like that, and it could have been a life-changing event, it sucks, because, that was, almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, I can't believe that. We've been talking about wrestling for 24 years almost.
And it's like the content really hasn't changed much, which is pretty sad. I just got into a group discussion with the wrestling community. Shout out to the wrestling community Facebook. If you're a part of it out there, check them out or ask to be a part of them. They're a great bunch of people. Anyways, I got into one of the conversations about what era is better, today or the Attitude Era, and the wrestling is better today. The Attitude Era was more entertaining, and they're always trying to recreate things from that era. This is the conversation I had with my girlfriend just today. I feel almost like WWE has killed the wrestling angle, and they are all about brands now and marketing. It's all about product placement. It's all about T-shirt sales. It's all about, the financial side of it. Wrestling plays a small part of it now, and it's a shame. I mean, Vince Russo talks about it. You have someone like Charlotte who loses to Nia Jax on Monday, and then she comes over to SmackDown, and boom, she's the number one contender for the Women's Championship. Those bookings don't make sense. I mean, even to the casual fan, that booking doesn't make sense. So you're essentially killing wrestling, because now
we gotta also remember too, and I know they're watching it, but they're not overlapping it in a way. Is that there's two different sets of writers. So, Raw and SmackDown are competing with each other. They're in their minds, they're going, "F you, your throwaway is now our goal."
Yeah, you say that, but you know me, I always have a rebuttal to what you say. Perfect example, last week, what's his name? The dude that just won the number one contender spot. Jinder Mahal loses to Finn Balor in 2 minutes and 34 seconds last week. This week, he's the number one contender for the WWE Championship.
Okay, I actually have a theory about that, and it has nothing to do with storylines or anything. And I threw this at my brother last night, and he laughed. He said it could be true because, there's this big background push on Finn Balor that I really don't believe Vince is behind, even though they say he's behind it. And I honestly believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Vince told Jinder while he was at the gorilla position, go out there and hit him as hard as you can. And if you do it, I'll give you a title shot on SmackDown.
Here's what else I noticed, though, too. SmackDown is the opportunity show. And if you want more proof than that, the Shining Stars went from gimmick to gimmick to gimmick when they were on Raw. Even on SmackDown. But with the new branding of SmackDown, they come over here, and they come in as Epico and Primo Cologne, and they win against one of the previous tag team champions.
Yeah, well, the Shining Stars, as the Shining Stars, were still not cool.
I like the wrestling, though. They can wrestle.
Oh, no. They're second-generation wrestlers.
Right.
They've been wrestling their whole entire lives. I mean, the Cologne family is to go what the Guerrero family is to Mexico.
I wonder if Vince also went to Jinder initially when rehiring him and said, listen, if you can get your act together, get your cardio in shape and everything, I can make you a top guy. And you see his regimen. No one gets that cut just to get healthy. I mean,
but you know what? In the end of all that, the Jinder promo, while it was short, absolutely on point. He sold me, and you know me, I'm a hard-headed individual to sell. He sold me.
I mean, he came off a little rough on talking smack, but the fact that this guy doesn't get much mic time anyway, he definitely has the look. He's in between. He's that hybrid of a small guy and a big guy combined. And he's not someone that they've pushed 1,000 times. I think it's great that he's finally seen that door open for him. I don't like the gimmick of having the Bollywood boys assist him.
Well, all bad guys have goons.
True. But I hope they don't stereocast him like they've done before, where he's just this Arab, this mean Arab.
Well, that's exactly the way that I thought they were going to go. And I think he did a complete turn on him. He told everybody in America, why don't you like me because I look like this? He didn't, try to make where he was, the bad guy. He made the Americans the bad guys, which, hey, let's be real. We are most of the time.
The ironic part is he's Canadian.
Well, he's got to play the Indian role, though.
But, that's one of the reasons why I want Sean Daivari on the show. I want to ask him, when he went into WWE, did they try to typecast him? Does writing say, hey, this is what we're going to do for you because of who you are? Or do they actually give him a fair chance?
Well, he came in with Muhammad Hassan, so...
Yeah, that poor guy.
Yeah, they ruined that guy forever.
Yeah, and then, his brother. At least they're not pushing that angle on his brother now. But 205 doesn't get the respect that it truly should when it comes to creative.
Well, people are tired. People are tired at the end of the 2-hour-long SmackDown. A 3-hour Raw is hard to deal with. Hell, 3 hours of WCW Nitro is why WCW Nitro went out of business.
But truth be told, we sat through a 7-hour WrestleMania, so if they can put some content behind 205 and give them actual character builds, I'll watch it. Like I said before, I'm not a huge women's wrestling fan, but if this women's division tournament that they're building up is quality, I'll watch every second of it.
Well, oh man, sorry. The cruiserweights are just at the moment not what they can be. Now, they have great talent in that division. Fortunately, right now, they're using people who shouldn't be in the division, even though they fall into the weight category. Austin Aries and Neville should be wrestling for higher titles. Austin Aries is a former world champion 3 times. I mean, you want to talk about best wrestlers in the world? Give me a break. Austin Aries has to be top 10, but...
Right, but the way Vince sees it, it's not a product he created, so he has to start from scratch.
Well, if they didn't start AJ Styles from scratch, they paid him them 6 figures to come in and carry a brand.
He's a different creature altogether, though. I mean, he can make, like you said, he can make a bag of potatoes look good.
Yeah, that's very true, very true. I mean, yeah, I do get that, but Austin Aries is just, I mean, I've watched the guy, for years. Matter of fact, he backhanded me one time. I know it wasn't on purpose. He was actually looking out for me, but he gave me some shit because it wasn't even mine. I was throwing away a can of energy drink. He goes, "Come on, bro. You know that stuff is bad for you. I mean, you look at you."
Jerk off!
So, before we get on to the actual meat and potatoes of the show, there's one topic I want to ask. And it's not a hot topic. It's just a Vince Russo. Again, I like to go to Vince Russo. I like touching on other people's podcasts because making a podcast isn't just about getting your podcast out there. It's about bringing wrestling fans together and letting them know all the avenues and all the wrestling that's out there. And as much of an asshole that Vince Russo can come off to be sometimes, he's a very intelligent guy. And he brought it up on one of his shows, is why is there a brand split? Why can't you have, whatever, both shows, Raw and SmackDown, but have any talent rotate between the two shows and get some premier matchups? Not wait 6 to 9 months to see, these matchups build later on. Because right now we're getting crap like Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt for like 3-4 months now, and I'm tired of it. It's old. It's overdone.
Well, Randy Orton was overdone coming in. Let's just face it. Randy Orton's being booked terribly. He's just not what he used to be. He's only being rewarded for taking his ass beaten that he took by Brock Lesnar, and like a man, looking like a little girl, basically.
But do you honestly see a benefit for having a brand split? Because I noticed that one show either does really good and the other is subpar, or vice versa. It's never been consistent.
Well, I think with the brand split, you get a better product. I mean, it's always been that way. I look back on, you were a Triple H guy, so you probably were entertained, but I wasn't. Back in the early brand splits, I hated Triple H as champion. SmackDown was always better. There was runs there where I wanted to shoot myself with, like, JBL as champion. But, like, the early days with Kurt Angle and Lesnar feuding for the title culminated in the WrestleMania 19. Eddie Guerrero, I was at the No Way Out in San Francisco, where he won the world title, which was absolutely amazing, loudest pop I've ever heard in my life. I think the reason why they do it is just because, they need to push these other characters away from Vince. That's why AJ's on a different brand, because they keep him away from Vince, because AJ's got to carry the company right now, in my opinion.
But you look at it, SmackDown has 7, 8, 9 matches per show, where Raw has 4 or 5 with about an hour and a half to almost 2 hours of just advertising and backstage crap.
That's because look at who's producing the show. Vince doesn't touch SmackDown, really. He may, oversee them, but the people who are running SmackDown run it on their own. Vince isn't always there. The only one that's there all the time is maybe Triple H. Again, throw out the fact that look who's running it.
It just sucks because we keep throwing our money and our time at this product, and it's not a good product.
We're going to do it. Yeah, we're going to do it no matter what.
And he knows that.
Although, you know what? I do like, and I was thinking about this earlier, I really like the Payback card outside of Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns, but the storylines be incredible. Incredible. Things I've dreamed about happening in WWE for years, it's finally going to happen.
If they do it right, though.
Yeah.
The matchup itself is a dream match, but can they do it right? It's Raw.
Well, they kill it, and again, I was going to throw in there, they kill it with storyline. The match has to finish a certain way because they kill it with a storyline, or because they have to continue next one. And I can understand that. That happened in old school wrestling, too, where storylines progressed and continued to the match, but...
Well, you know what? Because we're actually talking about the Raw brand itself, let's go ahead and start jumping into this week's Raw. And then we'll continue on that topic. I don't remember how Raw started off, so if you want to get us started, I'll give you my 2 cents and whatnot.
It started off with Braun Strowman and Kurt Angle. Braun called out because he wanted more. He wanted more to take on more opponents because he'd already gotten rid of Roman Reigns, and Kurt scolded him for doing so. Told him to take the night off, and he threatened Kurt that if he didn't get an opponent, that he would see what would happen.
Or else.
Yeah.
Okay, what I find interesting about this, and I said this a couple weeks back, even before Mania, and I got criticism, not by you, by another podcast, saying that Kurt Angle's wrestled all around the world, and he's still actively wrestling until like a couple of weeks back. When you see Kurt Angle get in that ring, he does not look like he can hardly walk, let alone wrestle. I don't...
Well, you said you listened to the Jericho podcast, Talk is Jericho with Kurt Angle, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
I listened to it this morning. He says he's ready, and Jericho says he looks like he's in the best shape of his life.
If you go back and look at that segment, though, he's not turning his body and his head at the same time. It could be the fact that he's wearing skinny jeans, too. Some Wranglers.
But
but
he's not. His neck has been repaired. What did he say? 4 or 5 times. So
I can legitimately say that I was afraid that Strowman was going to toss his ass.
No, he's got a no-touch right now. Like you said, Vince and Triple H are like watching him like a hawk. But I think they'll count it down until WrestleMania, and he'll be in a big profile match at WrestleMania.
See, the downfall to that is you being a fan knowing that, it kind of takes away from his role as a general manager. I mean, even Stephanie, as a general manager, had contact. And it just, the believability that this superstar comes in as a general manager and is not allowed to do anything other than say some shallow words.
I don't think that that's going to be the first time he touches anybody or takes a bump. I think in the next couple of weeks, they're waiting the next couple of months, and then he's going to get his physical as time goes on. And, maybe by SummerSlam he does take a bump or two, or he gets into a fight, about the time when he gets into this big feud with Triple H and Stephanie. Hell, maybe he wrestles at SummerSlam. Maybe he wrestles Triple H at SummerSlam.
You want to hear an interesting fact about Braun Strowman?
What?
The guy has no merchandise other than action figures.
I didn't even know he had an action figure.
Yeah, he has an action figure, but as easy as him hitting Roman Reigns inside the ambulance and saying, "I'm not finished with you yet," that's a t-shirt right there.
I find Braun Strowman more interesting than Roman Reigns.
Right.
Although you know what? I am going to shock the world right now and say, watching the wrestling community react to Roman Reigns this past week, specifically with Rosie passing away, has made me turn to his side a little bit more. They keep pushing the way the fans act, the way that they do. You may have a guy who completely turns on. Because, what did I text you the other day going, wrestling fans are a little too much.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a little bit annoying.
Yeah, that's the hot topic for this week. Is the fact that fans can't tell the difference between reality and fiction.
We'll talk about that later. Let's continue on with the show.
Okay, so then what was the next segment?
What was next?
Luckily, this is a wrestling podcast and we can talk about anything. We don't even have to go on that format. Anything that stood out on Raw that you really liked, what you really disliked? I like the fact that Braun Strowman ran that show.
Pretty much, yes. It was a good thing. Yeah, let's move on. I don't remember what was in the middle part of that first hour, even though I just watched it like an hour ago.
That's just it. That's one of these reasons why we're doing a podcast on Wednesday and not Friday. On Friday, I would have forgotten everything already. These episodes are very forgettable.
Yeah. I mean, like, the biggest things from the show, really, obviously, I mean, you want to just do the big takeaways. Again, like, you got the next up, you would probably go, well, we talked about The Miz already. So, that was in the first hour as well.
Right, but he cut an identical promo the week prior.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, guys. Seriously. On top of that, one of my biggest hang-ups, and Vince Russo covered this on the show too, from the psychology standpoint as a wrestling fan, and I talked to the co-host of the Next Up program that I have on the Savvo and Stubby Network. I'm going to have my guest host, Glorious Steve Ossio, helping me out for tonight's episode. I told him that Vince pointed out a really keen point about the show. When you're watching an episode of wrestling and you see who's next up on the card, they typically will show you the babyface and the heel. They'll announce both of them. But I noticed lately they did it with Finn Balor and they did it with... it happened on NXT where they only said one combatant's name. They're like, you're going to see Finn Balor up next in action. When you don't mention the opponent, you leave no credibility that they have a chance. Ironically, his opponent was Jinder Mahal. Jinder Mahal lost that match. The fact that you didn't even mention his name or that he's going to be fighting against him, it just left any credibility that Jinder Mahal had a shot at all winning the match. And they did that with Ruby Riott on NXT. She fought against Kimberly... can't remember her last name. Or her name was Kimberly in Shimmer. But they didn't announce her.
Yeah.
And Ruby Riott won. And it's like, as a casual fan, you don't catch that stuff. But someone that follows it and actually invests their time and their money into it, you're supposed to sell me. Jim Cornette says the fan doesn't write the story, I forgot his exact words. But they're supposed to sell us the story. We're not supposed to sell them a story.
Yep. You're exactly true there. I was kind of going over my notes here. Sorry, I was reading. Just because Raw was really unforgettable. Like, leading into a pay-per-view in 2 weeks, I mean, my big takeaways from the show, like, I'm looking at, Jeff wrestling one-on-one. It's the first time he's wrestled one-on-one in the WWE since he left. What was his last match? Against CM Punk?
Right. And then you have him fight against Cesaro, who's going to be one half of his opponent at the pay-per-view. But what was the point of the match? No one gained anything from that.
Well, see, somebody honestly pulled it out again. As much as Vince probably was mad at Jeff, I think here we are again in the same situation of Jeff being the one that they love the most. Because I'm going to guarantee you, and here's my bold prediction for next Monday Night Raw, it's going to be Matt Hardy versus Sheamus, and Sheamus is going to win the match. So again, we have 1 week where Jeff goes over because,
that's that
Jeff
50.
Just always goes over.
That's the 50-50, the 50-50 booking.
Yeah. Yep, and Matt's gonna take a loss, even though Matt's been the bigger thing lately, and he's been carrying his brother because I think if it wasn't for Matt, Jeff wouldn't have a job.
You know what I realized? I'd say we're about 20 to 30 minutes into this podcast already. Let's not do the format of Raw SmackDown. Let's just talk about wrestling, period.
I'm fine with that.
And I have a theory, and I wanted to ask you about this. You've got two titles you got at least one title that's being defended at the pay-per-view next week. the Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt is not a title match, right? It's just the House of Horrors match?
No, it is for the WWE title.
Okay, so 2 questions. Number 1, Jericho versus Owens. With knowing that Owens is leaving WWE to go on tour... Jericho, sorry. Do you believe the writers might pull a fast one on us and let Jericho actually win the title? And Jericho make a, like a Brock Lesnar type appearance here and there when needed? Just because we assume he's going on tour means he's going to lose?
Well, I doubt it, just because Jericho's just completely going to be off, and he said it. Although listening to what Jericho says, you're right. It's,
well, here's the reason why I asked this. This is my whole. How Stubby does his conspiracies. It was announced that whoever wins comes to SmackDown with the title. Correct?
Yes.
I thought it was premature that they brought Owens over to Raw or to SmackDown in the first place. There was talks that Triple H is building a stable. So imagine, if you will, Chris Jericho does in fact beat Owens for the belt or the title, goes on tour, blows everyone's mind because we're thinking this guy is not even going to be here. No one saw it coming. Owens goes back to Raw, and that's when you build this stable, because you already have Seth Rollins versus Samoa Joe. The build's already there.
I like the theory, but advertisements for future shows, and yes, they can be changed, but WWE doesn't do it too much. Has Owens feuding with AJ Styles for the United States title for the next few months.
Which is great. If they do, it's SmackDown, so they will do it right.
Yeah.
My next question is, how do we have a believability that Orton versus Bray Wyatt is going to be anything other than Orton walking away with the belt still?
There is no believability in either of these matches. We already know the outcome. It's just a matter of getting there.
And in fact, I believe it was Booker that mentioned it on SmackDown on accident when he was referencing that match. He's like, Orton, talking about how Orton's going to defend his title against Jinder Mahal. That's assuming Orton already won the belt, or kept the belt.
The only thing I could see maybe happening with the thing is Jericho does win at the pay-per-view, just for the shock value, and then Monday night, because the rumor is that he signed through Monday night.
Rumors also that he has all of his Mondays open. For his tour schedule. So, I would have to look at Fozzie's tour schedule to see if that's in fact the truth. But when I listened to Jericho go over his tour dates, they were back to back to back to back days. There were not days off in between. So I don't see someone wanting to go on tour for that 2 month or month period nonstop and want to wrestle in between. So that theory, like you said, that following night, very likely he can lose it.
Yes, sir.
And he can lose it in a fashion where he actually... But then who would he lose it to? Because he'd be on SmackDown, Owens would be on Raw.
But Owens can still pull the... I get a
rematch clause?
I get a rematch, yeah.
Which also makes sense, because then you have Owens back on SmackDown again to fit the card, like you were saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just so jaded sometimes, and I think they do that on purpose just to get us web fans off of the trail.
Well, lately it's been what's planned. Like, they haven't gone away from what was planned, except for the last minute switch between Wyatt and AJ Styles. Like, that was a last minute call because it was supposed to be Styles until the very last minute when they're like, nope, go out there, Bray. And there could very well be something that Wyatt had some heat on SmackDown. I'm not exactly sure what the story is, but I read that somewhere.
No, not to mention Vince can hire some headhunters like he supposedly did with Jinder Mahal.
Yeah, I can do that.
Injuries happen. Sorry for that microphone pickup, too. I have my window open and a motorcycle just drove by.
Mike, like, is that you? Because I know I'm pretty locked in here.
Yeah. Sorry, my stomach is a little off.
Yeah, I don't know. We're at a dead zone point right now for wrestling. It's the WrestleMania Fallout. You know, everybody's looking forward to SummerSlam. I mean, you know, like Alexa Bliss is going to challenge Bayley. I really don't expect Alexa Bliss to win the match either, just because they're on the showdown for Sasha.
Which, she must have pissed somebody off because she went from being top of the game to like third or fourth on the totem pole now.
Well, she's third or fourth on the totem pole because they're going to hold off on the match until SummerSlam. So Bayley's going to go through the next couple of months. She's going to beat Alexa, then she'll beat Nia, she'll probably beat Emma, and then she'll have the big showdown with Miss Bliss. Not Miss Bliss, what am I thinking? Sasha Banks.
You know what's funny is, I mean, if you follow my show, the new one I just started for NXT, NXT's got a pretty depth women's division, and they're only going to be building more. I think you mentioned it on the Raw show about Shimmer. I didn't realize how many WWE superstars have come from Shimmer.
Well, even Bayley wrestled in Shimmer for a little bit.
You got Bayley, you got Asuka, you had Athena, a.k.a. Ember Moon. Yim, the one I was telling you about, who plays Jade. She used to be in TNA.
Oh, yeah.
I can see her coming over soon. But my thing being, expect Asuka to be making her debut soon. I don't think it's going to be SummerSlam. I think it's going to be before that. Because
I think she's going to go to SmackDown.
Yeah, they've got a stacked enough division over in NXT right now. You've got Peyton Royce and I don't know why I can't think of her name. This always happens whenever I get on the radio. I can think of people's names left and right. But they've got a stacked roster over there when it comes to the women's division. And I can see it's now Asuka's time to come over, but she has to lose the title first. Which I'm surprised she didn't lose it to Ember Moon.
Yeah. I still think the WWE wants her to lose. I'm going to bet anything here that the Asuka title is going to be just given up. She's going to forfeit the title, or she's going to hand it over when she goes to the main roster.
Because they're going to keep her undefeated?
Yeah. I mean, right now it's just so hard to do it, you know, like to kill it off, you know what I mean?
You actually segued into my next topic, and I'm glad you brought that up. What are the rules? And I know they say 30 days, but why is it Brock Lesnar does not have to be active to defend that title? But you had Naomi, who forfeited that title within a month.
Shout out again to the wrestling community. This question was brought up there. I'm going to say it again. It's wrestling, and they can do whatever the hell they want.
Right, but don't set a rule in place that you can't follow through, because they're again.
Well, it was a set rule on SmackDown. It wasn't a set rule on Raw.
I thought that's been a rule, period, in wrestling.
Well, it is, but Raw could say that, hey, we're not having that rule.
But
I mean, they can do anything they want. They can write it out anything.
Right,
I mean,
but there's that losing that credibility part. And again, I understand Vince doesn't have to do it because fuck it, you're going to pay your money anyway. But, I mean, come on. If I'm investing 3 hours a night, in this case, it's only an hour and a half, because like I said, I watched the Campbell Soup version, the Hulu cuts.
yeah.
But even then, when I'm wasting an hour and a half, I've got to the point now where I just listen to another podcast review, and their review is spot on to what happened on Raw and SmackDown, to the point where I don't even have to watch it.
Yeah, I read a lot. I watched back the first hour because I didn't watch it originally. My brother watches Raw religiously, so it's always on the TV when I come in. Sometimes I'll sit there and watch the whole thing with them. Other times I won't because I just can't take it. Raw, a lot of times, is boring.
Oh, I agree.
I can watch SmackDown a lot better than I can watch Raw.
Well, just so we don't bore our listeners any further, what do you say we get into this week's hot topic?
Topic.
Just another hot topic.
Yeah, something we talked about a little bit earlier, but it started to really get on my nerves, and I wanted to touch on it. I'm actually the one that brought up this hot topic in a text message. Wrestling fans and not knowing when to draw a line between real life and reality.
Oh, yeah. I'll let you lead the way because, I mean, you came up with this week's hot topic, and I want to see you steam, Joe.
All right, check it out. This week, as we all know, when we did pay tribute, but once again, rest in peace to the Big Uso, Rosie, Matt Anoa'i. He passed away, and he's the brother of Roman Reigns. Well, there was a lot of feedback or comeback from wrestling fans on the situation, and some of it was completely and utterly horrible. It was one comment, it just sticks out in my mind. I even took a picture over to Stubby where the guy said, "The wrong brother died." Seriously? It's professional wrestling. You're wishing somebody's dead. The guy just lost his brother, and you're wishing that he died instead because you don't like him as a wrestler?
You know what's funny?
I don't like him as a...
It's funny, when you sent me that picture, I thought you meant the guy didn't realize that was actually Rosie, and he thought that they put the wrong picture with the wrong name. I didn't realize. It just took now for me to realize that he meant Roman Reigns should have died.
Yeah.
That's sad.
And I've seen it more than once come up. There's a petition out right now to fire Roman Reigns because fuck Roman Reigns. Like, literally, they change.org, they went to that, and they put a petition, and the guy's got over 15,000 signatures on it to fire a guy.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't like him as a wrestler, he's boring, but you're really going to fire somebody because you don't like them?
They had they had a petition for Braun Strowman also.
It's
for the
utterly ridiculous.
For the level of violence that he portrayed on Roman Reigns. A woman started a petition because she thought that he really did throw him off of that loading dock, and then also flipped an ambulance with him inside.
Look, it's out of control, people. This is professional wrestling. We've all known since we were 10 years old that the matches are predetermined. Yes, there is a possibility to get hurt. They get hurt every day, but they train every day to try not to get hurt.
Are you trying to tell me wrestling's fake?
Wrestling's not fake!
I will not ever use the word wrestling is fake. I will never say that because wrestling to me is not fake. It's just predetermined so that they can go out the next night and perform again.
In the famous words of Vince Russo, wrestling is not fake. It is sports entertainment. Yep.
It's like watching a stuntman show, but these guys are more likely to get hurt.
And kind of a side segue to the same topic. Did you hear about Vince Russo and the heat he's in right now?
He's always in heat. I can't stand that guy, but whatever.
Well, apparently he reacted to the fans reacting to Roman Reigns the following night after Mania. To when you had all the crowd chanting for 15 minutes to fuck Roman Reigns, go away, you suck. And they were chanting, interrupting him the whole damn time.
Yeah.
And Vince Russo's under heat right now because of these dirt sheet writers decided to send his transcript to all his advertisers on his podcast. And I get where he's coming from, but he took the wrong approach. He said that wrestling fans that were booing Roman Reigns or that boo at that level fall into three categories. He said you're either 1, homosexual, 2, have homosexual tendencies, or 3, you're in the closet.
Wow,
Right.
is going a bit far.
It is, and in his defense, I get where he's trying to say that whenever you see Derek Carr, when he got hurt, or when he threw a touchdown, you don't sit there and, I mean, you do your regular cheering, but you're not sitting there, coming to tears or coming to blows with someone because of an action that he did. But these are guys and girls that are to the point where they're starting, like you said, petitions to get this guy fired. It's not real.
Well,
it's entertainment.
I thought the fuck Roman Reigns chant was a bit much. I could understand the booing. Like, I'm all for the booing and speaking your mind because that's how we speak. And I know we disagree with this point, and that's how you express how you feel, and not to take away the expression of how people feel. But the utter hate for an individual who is just trying to provide for his family and working is unbelievable. Give me a break.
Right, and here's where I took the defense of Vince Russo. He said the fact that you have that much admiration or whatnot to one male individual is not normal. And I'm not saying being gay is not normal. I have nothing against gays whatsoever. But he's saying that type of behavior and mentality toward a stranger that you do not know is not common behavior. But against him, this is a guy who's been in the business for 30 plus years now and has worked for 3 different companies in said profession. So, in return, you're calling yourself one of those 3 categories.
Well, look, I understand the heat for Roman Reigns because I have it for him. It's the John Cena effect. If there was no John Cena before Roman Reigns would probably be in the Cena category. It's the fact that Vince pushes these guys down our throats.
Giggity.
What? Vince pushes these guys down our throats. And
Giggity.
stop it! And we've had enough. And I get the revolt. You boo. You boo to say that you don't like this guy. But fuck Roman Reigns chants, I wish he was dead chants, or I wish he was dead post, or let's have this guy fired. And because Vince McMahon has got too much power, it's Vince's company in the long run. He's been doing this.
You know what he sees, though, is he had the same problem with The Rock when Rock first came over. He was a babyface as Rocky Maivia, didn't get over. He turned heel to the point where people hated the guy. And look at him now, 20 years later.
Yeah, even The Rock couldn't save Roman Reigns. You remember that meme?
Yeah, but Triple H doesn't understand, or Triple H and Vince don't understand. This is not 1995, 96, 98, whatever you want to call it. The fan is adapted. They now feel like they run the show.
Well, it's not even that they feel like they run the show. They feel like, there are these guys out there that deserve to push more. And again, we go back to what all started this. It was Batista. Look, if Vince would have never brought back Batista in the situation that he did, where, they basically told the world, Batista's going to come back and win the Royal Rumble and fuck you guys, this never would have started. We wouldn't be here in this situation. They handled that Batista situation absolutely terrible. They told the world, you've been giving us this guy right here for 6 months, and you've made him lose over and over again, telling us you're going to give us the payoff. We're going to get the payoff that we deserve because we cheer for him. And then instead of giving us that guy at the Royal Rumble, you bring back a guy that nobody wants to see right now. That we've invested in this guy. So you put that guy out there and they boot the crap out of him. Just like they do Roman Reigns. Batista was supposed to be the good guy, and they booed the crap out of him. They overtook the crowd. And who did it come down to in that match? But Roman Reigns and Batista.
Okay, so
And
did you
what did the fans do?
did you still
What
want
did the fans do?
Did you still want to stick on the topic of the wrestling, fans taking it too real, or do you want to segment into another topic that I have lined up? I wasn't sure if you had more that was fan blurring the reality lines.
I mean, technically, I am talking about the fans here.
Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap the hot topic up. It was a short one. But I do have a question on the lines that you were talking about Batista during the time that CM Punk was on the roster. Now, I heard Daivari talking on the podcast today with Jim Ross about how he didn't understand why fans didn't like wrestlers didn't like working with Cena. That he felt that Cena was kind of taking the spotlight. But the way that Daivari put it, and it makes me wonder if Punk was really about money or if he really was about the industry, because I'm kind of blurred on Punk when it comes to this topic because I love CM Punk. And if he really is truly a fan of the sport and wants to be in wrestling, why hasn't he returned? And what my focus was Daivari said whenever he fought a card, when Cena was at a house show or even at a show, his payout would be like $135,000 for being there. But when Cena was not on the card, payout was like $90,000. So there was a significant difference. So to see someone come back like Batista that can draw in a crowd, you would think Punk would be happy that he's on the roster because that means double the payday. And if it's not about the money, why is he not back in the business?
Again, I still have this thing about them switching Brock Lesnar for CM Punk. I just believe in that meeting that nobody knows what the hell happened that day. But everything happened after that when Dana White showed up in Stamford, Connecticut. And I believe that CM Punk is going to come back one day. They're going to have this big feud where he's going to feud with Triple H. Because I don't think it's all been a work. I think WWE is still kind of paying CM Punk, and I think we've all just ate it up. Punk wanted to do some MMA stuff, so he went out there and he did it. If Punk losing every MMA match he does not lose any credibility in professional wrestling. Why? Because he went out there and he did things most professional wrestlers can't and won't do.
If what you're saying is true, I will start signing my paychecks right over to Vince McMahon, because that'll be the greatest build in history.
It was, you know what, and I came up into my head the other day because I've been going through April's book. AJ Lee, for those of you who don't know, she wrote a book. It's about her growing up and stuff. She was one of my favorites at the time. I love the work that AJ Lee did. In her short time, she was like one of the bright spots in a very shitty diva division.
Didn't she also suffer from bipolar?
Yeah, she does. Anyways, as you know, she's married to CM Punk. And she mentioned the other day that while happy with her life right now, she's not ruling out a return to wrestling. And I believe we're going to see them both back at some point.
And Jericho not Jericho, sorry. Vince asked, I think he asked Stone Cold, it might have been Daivari, sorry. Jim Ross asked Daivari if he thought, because CM Punk and Daivari both came from the same class. They're both from Midwest Wrestling. They're in Chicago, Minnesota area. Yeah. And he asked, do you think that CM Punk would ever come back? And he said that if he comes back, it's not going to be announced. It's not going to be one of these, like, oh, he's going to be here in like the next month or whatever. It's just going to be a surprise. Boom, he's back. But he says that knowing who CM Punk is, he's not completely done with wrestling.
No, I don't think he's completely. He hasn't headlined WrestleMania yet. His whole goal here was to headline WrestleMania.
My fear is he's going to fall into the same category as the Hardys. It's going to be the wow factor when he returns, and then it'll fizzle out.
It hasn't fizzled out. In the years that he's been gone, he still gets as loud of a chance as anybody in the business.
How cool would it be if he did just like the Wanderer or El Vagabundo, if you want to get specific, and he just makes an appearance at a Chicago show in the audience.
I don't think the fans could handle it. I don't think I could handle it. I've always wanted to go to a show in Chicago.
Speaking of, on a side note, and it's again, I'm ADD, so you'll hear me jump topics on the show. You notice Roman Reigns pretty much kept everything intact from the Shield. He kept the vest. He kept the theme music. But do you notice one thing he stopped doing?
No.
Coming through the crowd. Can you imagine?
Well, yeah.
Can you imagine what that would be like? There had to be a turning point that stopped.
Well, when they realize that this guy's not over, and
According to Vince, he is.
he's just not over in that way. Give me a break, Vince. Get over it. Although the fans are gonna push me towards Roman Reigns' side because it's getting to be a bit annoying.
Like I said, I don't like the style of wrestling, but I like the amount of himself he puts out there to help Vince with the company. The average fan doesn't see it, or even the diehard fans really don't see it to a point. The guy is a scapegoat for Vince. He is the cleanup guy. And he's taking all the heat. You notice Vince got some boos that night after Raw, but that was 99% of that was on Roman Reigns that night. And that's a lot to bear for one person.
You can, and here we go. We can talk about Vince McMahon for days, and then I think I've mentioned this in the past couple of weeks since I've been coming on. We criticize Vince McMahon as much as possible, but in the end of all ends, we love the guy like he was a part of our family.
Oh, absolutely.
But he is Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and he produces the thing that or one of the things we love most in this world.
Right.
So, on those notes, as much as I hate Monday Night Raw, I'll be throwing my money at Vince. Headed over to WWE Payback in San Jose in a week and a half. But a big thing is I'm going to actually be going to San Diego in 2 weeks, and I'm going to catch NXT in San Diego. So I'll have a lot to talk about there, too, as well. Hopefully we'll get some reports outside of the Aztec Arena for NXT. Maybe get some fan takes, things like that, see what's going on while they tour the southern part of California.
All right, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this show so we have some content for the following week's show. But as usual, it's me, it's STUBB. Why? Because I'm the man, the myth, the legend, the mighty minion himself, Stubby. And I am joined by my colleague once again,
The original Big Joe.
and this part of the show is where we plug anything that we want to plug. Giggity. As always, you can check us out at the Savvo and Stubby Show on the Spreaker app. If you don't have the Spreaker app, you can go to Google Play or the Apple Store, download the Spreaker app. That's Spreaker with an R. Look for the Savvo and Stubby Show, and also look for Next Up, NXT Up. It's a show that I do on a weekly basis going forward. But on the app, click on the Savvo and Stubby Show. Boom, we're in your pocket. Boom, we're in your ear. You can also find us on the Savvo and Stubby Show group page or the Savvo and Stubby Show official Facebook page. iTunes has not gotten back to me, so at this point, kind of fuck them. If they don't want to add us, we don't need them. I'm happy with the 25 fans that we have. Joe, is there anything that you want to plug for this week?
You know what, guys? If you're really looking to make yourself healthier and better, I've been on a little bit of a journey myself. I will throw this out for free. DDP Yoga really is working, getting myself back into normal shape. So it really does work. I know we hear a lot about from the wrestlers, but it is working for me. So check it out if you really need to.
And do you know the specs for the wrestling community?
Facebook. Look up the wrestling community on Facebook. It's strictly as it says it.
I want to see if we can get our good pal NWO Ralph on the show.
Ooh,
Mr. Wolfpack himself.
I'm pretty sure the guy loves to talk. We just got to tie him down for a minute. I know I can always get a hold of him since he is absolutely my landlord.
But yeah, so make sure you check us out. Again, we do a podcast every Friday. With the exception of last week, I was taken ill, slept all day. So we're giving you kind of a bonus episode for this Wednesday, although Stubby's going Hollywood come Friday.
We will see you next week.
Yep, Stubby out.